How's everybody doing? Oh God. And what's going on? How's everybody doing? Let me pause this music, guys. Today is gonna be a great day. Great topic. Really, we're just gonna delve into frequently asked questions. Oh really? Someone said you could sing. I don't think so. But anyway, I appreciate the the fact that you think so. Anyway, guys, today I've got this great topic, honestly and truly. And this is just basically frequently asked questions. But we're going to start with this first question, which everybody's always asking me. Even when I bring people live to ask me a question, about 50-60% of the time, they're going to ask me this question. Well, Fula, I have a prior denial. My adjustment of status case was denied. Uh, okay, that's the one based on marriage, right? Adjustment of status based on marriage case was denied, and I'm worried. What can I do? Or they'll say my adjustment of status to marriage case, my previous case was denied. Do I still qualify for VAWA? And my answer is always, as long as you qualify, absolutely you do, right? Absolutely you do. And so really that, to be honest with you, that's a consultation question, because in the consultation, that's usually my job to determine, I mean, do you still are you still eligible for VAWA? Okay, but generally speaking, uh, if you're in a toxic relationship with your spouse, or you divorced from one because it was toxic, right? Or you're separated from one because it was toxic, all right? And your spouse is or was a U.S. citizen or a green card holder, all right? And the kind of toxic issues are things like a spouse talking down to you, cursing you out, disappearing on you, asking you for sex or money in exchange for filing for you, things of that nature, then you qualify. Then you absolutely possibly qualify, okay? Uh, of course, there's some exceptions to that rule. And should I say, of course, there's some denials that, or some reasons for denial that if you have that on your record could make it difficult, or, to win your vial case. Now, for instance, I won't say difficult, but who of course, there's some things that if you have them on your record, for instance, if your prior application was denied because of something like fraud, like maybe immigration found that you entered the marriage fraudulently, that's not the end of the world. That's probably like probably like one of your worst denials, but it's not the end of the world. And I always say that, especially if you have something like that on your record, if your prior application was denied because of something like that, like immigration found that they were of the opinion that you entered the marriage for fraudulent reasons, if that's like the kind of issue, the reason why your application was denied, you definitely need to be calling me, okay? Because if you have any chance at all of winning, all right, if you have any chance at all of getting a green card, it will be through VAWA. Why? Because VAWA is based on marital problems or the abuse in the marriage. So VAWA is usually going to give you the only way of explaining such an issue. All right. File is going to give you the only way of explaining, or or giving a rebuttal of how is it exactly that immigration thought that you entered the marriage for fraudulent reasons. Like, how exactly did that happen? File is probably going to give you the only way around it. All right. Uh, right. Because think about it. So let's say you are married to a U.S. citizen or green card holder. They filed for you, got to interview, and your spouse alleged that you entered the marriage for fraudulent reasons, or your spouse refused to show up for you, or your spouse wrote them a letter saying he's withdrawing or she's withdrawing because you married him or her for money or for papers, you know what I mean, etc. Okay, just think about it. And then you now go and marry another U.S. citizen, all right, and try to file another application. You see how that's going to be even worse? See how that's even going to look even worse? Now, what I'm saying right now does not apply to you. If truly you moved on, you found someone who really loved you, by all means, try again and adjust your status to a spouse. So, if you truly have moved on from that other relationship, truly you found someone that you love each other, then you should move on. You should move on, and you should have all faith, right? Because I always say what's real is real. If it's a true marriage, if this second time around, not to say anything about the first one, but if this second time around it was a true and real marriage, then go for it. Apply. But if that's not your situation, and if that previous marriage was abusive, and if your spouse had already threatened you and said, if I go to an interview, I'm gonna F you up. If you already had a spouse that had already threatened you to do something like that, and then they actually went through on their threat, and now you have on the records, immigration has you on record as having married someone for fraudulent reasons, you need to be calling me. You are who I need to be trying to help. Okay. All right. You are who I need to be trying to help. So I see some questions here, and I'm gonna quickly just, I think, start taking them because I see people are ready to start talking today. But let me type my information here. All right. My phone number is here at the bottom, and also I'm pinning it here, and also my website. All right. So I'm pinning my website and my phone number here down at the bottom. Quickly, before I bring in this person, remember, VAWA stands for Violence Against Women Act. It's a way for a lawyer usually to get you a green card based on the problems, the issues, the stuff, the bad stuff in the marriage. Okay, so in other words, I always explain it that vow is the opposite of adjustment of status to marriage. Adjustment of status to marriage is where a spouse is filing for you based on a healthy relationship, based on you guys loving each other, based on the lovey-dovey stuff, right? Whereas vow is the exact opposite. Vow is usually based on the problems, the issues, the crazy stuff, the craziness that happened in the marriage. Okay, this based on, of course, the beating, although it doesn't have to require physical evidence. It's based on the beating, the sexual abuse, you getting an STD, you going crazy because of a marriage, you having to see a psychologist because of the kind of marriage you've been in, you having to see a shrink, you having suicidal thoughts, those sorts of things. It's based on you being married to a spouse who refuses to work. So maybe when you guys met, they were working, but now they refuse to work, make you go to work, literally just really milking the fact that you're an immigrant and the fact that you need papers. They're milking it. Okay, that's the kind of situation we're talking about. Okay, we're talking about a situation where your spouse threatens to call immigration on you, threatens to get you deported anytime you don't give them what they want. That could be sex, that could be money, that could be if you refuse to do illegal activities. Maybe your spouse sells drugs and wants you to sell drugs along with them, and you refuse, and they threaten to call immigration on you. Okay, it could also be things like you finding out something so big, so extreme, that had you found out about this issue before marriage, you don't ever married the person. These are things like a person, of course, having an STD. These are things like of course, a person having a mental disorder. Nothing wrong with that, again, but these are things you want to tell your spouse about beforehand. These are things like, these are things such as you finding out a spouse um, is what's the word, has is unable to have kids, right? Unable to have kids, unable to father a kid, or unable to birth a kid. Again, these are common problems, but these are things you just want to tell your spouse ahead of time. And if a spouse finds this out after the fact, again, that could be considered on the spectrum of abusive. It's considered a little bit abusive. It's abusive, right? You finding out your spouse is unable either to have kids or unable to father children, and you told your spouse you really wanted children, and they hid that fact from you, right? Then it starts to look like your spouse hid that for on purpose or as a way to lure you. Okay, so again, if you find out something extreme about your spouse, and of course also you finding out a person's sexual orientation is other than what you thought it was before marriage. Okay, I mean, and you find out after the marriage, right? So these are some examples of a situation where you might find out something extreme about your spouse that had you known ahead of time, you would have married them. Of course, the most common ones are things like you finding out a spouse has an STD, or you being given an STD by a spouse actually transmitting an STD to you, right? When you did not have an STD before marriage, right? These are things like you finding out a spouse is sells drugs, or or does some sort of criminal activity on a daily basis, right? These are things such as you finding out a spouse is involved in something dangerous that's putting you and your kids' lives in danger. Oh, thank you, Holy Spirit. And there's one more. These are things like you finding out a spouse is a sexual predator, a perv, likes little boys or little girls. Okay? These are things that if you find out after the fact, it's a problem, especially if they do something to your kid, if they abuse your kid sexually or physically. Okay, your U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse abused or abuses or abused. You found out your U.S. citizen spouse was abusing a minor in your care, what your daughter or your son. These are things that once you find out about them, you should be calling me. Okay, those are the cases. To be honest with you, that that I want to make sure I help people out of, right? So these are just some examples of some extreme things that you may find out about your spouse. That when you find out about them, they usually indicate that that's a great viol case. All right. So long story short, if you have a toxic marriage, or if you are in a toxic marriage but divorced, or if you are in a toxic marriage but separated from one, and the marriage was for a U.S. citizen or green card holder, all right, you could possibly qualify for vow even after denial. Okay, just see an experienced vow lawyer to see how best they can help you. Okay, see how best they can help you. Again, this is why we are lawyers, right? The average lawyer, at least I think so, doesn't only take the easy cases. So most of the cases I take usually have some sort of denial in the past, or I'm having to overcome some things. There's always some difficulty that I'm having to overcome. This is why people hire me. This is why people hire lawyers, right? So that's exactly why you go to a lawyer. So if you have something that you think is going to make it difficult for you to get a green card through VAWA, then definitely just make sure you consult with a lawyer. Come talk to me. And then I'll usually tell you at the end of the conversation what your chances are. I won't lie to you. If it's a 50-50 chance, I'll tell you it's 50-50. I will tell you. And then at that point, it'd be just up to you really to see it through. Okay, it'd be up to you what you want to do. All right. Then, of course, vow lastly also applies to people who are just in a relationship with someone. So it applies to a partnership that's not a marriage. Okay, in some states only, and this only applies in some states like Texas, Alabama, Colorado, that recognize a non-legal marriage. So again, if you're living in a state that recognizes a non-legal marriage, okay, in other words, a common law marriage, and these are states like Texas, Alabama, Colorado. These are states like South Carolina, New Hampshire, and I believe Washington is on it. These are states like Kansas. If you know someone who's in a toxic, non-legal marriage, in other words, a partnership, they're just in a partnership with someone, they've been together for a long time with someone but never married, they have children together, they have bills together, or maybe they have businesses together, they have a house together. In other words, they present themselves to the world as if they really are married, okay? And this person is beating them, choking them. This person has given them an STD. This person is threatening to kill them. This person is threatening to kill themselves if your friend leaves them. Or this person is threatening to call immigration on them, threatening to get them deported. All right. This person is cheating on them left and right and has done so for years. This person is exposing them to an STD by sleeping with many people without protection. This person is making a friend do things that he or she is uncomfortable to keep the marriage. Sexual. It could be sexual. It could be legal things they're uncomfortable with in order to stay in the marriage. All right. If these sound like someone you know, all right, and they're not even married, but they live in a state like Texas, Alabama, New Hampshire, Colorado, I can help them. And you should give me a call. And y'all should give me a call. Let me start taking these questions because there's about 4 people in line. Question starting now. Hello? Hello?
Hey Queen, how you doing? I got a quick question for you. Okay, so I'm waiting for my case like a couple years ago, and so the other day I applied for my work permit because it expired, not work permit, travel permit, because it expired, and they denied it. So they said they're gonna send a letter for the reason. So when they sent the letter, they said that congratulations, you're now a permanent resident. But I still haven't received nothing, and the status still haven't changed. You know why?
When did you get the congratulations letter?
Like 2 weeks now.
Okay. Oh, you're being impatient. Immigration takes forever sometimes. 2 weeks is you're still in good time. It'll come, okay?
I appreciate it.
Right. Okay. TikTok dancing TikTok video. Daria 11. Oh, okay, I guess this person is promoting themselves. How do you put that they have an STD? Let me take this question. It's simple. STD. Usually you have a test, or you have tests behind for that. Hello, what happened? Usually, yeah. Usually this test. Um, Most of the ones I've done, usually either they've been exposed to one, but really most of them usually even have actually gotten an STD. So we just take an STD test, and that's proof. As to how do we prove that your spouse exposed you to an STD? I can't tell you all my secrets now. Love, able, chill now. What you need to do is call and schedule a consultation and see if I can help you. Okay. 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 All right. All right. Let me take some more questions here. Guys, right now is the time to, if you want me to answer your question, now is the time to come live. I plan to leave here in exactly 5 minutes from now. It's 3:59 now, right now. So at 4 or 5, I will be leaving. Can you apply for citizenship after 10 years? After the 10 year, I don't get what you're saying. I think you're trying to say after you get a 10-year green card, can you apply for citizenship? Yes, provided you qualify. So usually if you got your green card, your 10-year green card based on marriage, you have to wait at least 3 years before you qualify. I think if it's based on asylum, it's 4 years. Based on an employer, it's 5 years. It just depends on how you got your green card. All right. And then there's other things too, like you would need to talk to a lawyer to make sure you don't have any criminal issues, no fraud issues, that you don't have any tax issues that could hinder you from getting citizenship. All right. Yes, you can contact me. We take cases in Nashville. Okay, Nashville is just 3 hours from where I am. It's Memphis, and I'm in Memphis. That's 3 hours away. And by the way, as I answer Omar, I'm just gonna put this out there. Remember, I represent all 50 states. So we represent all 50 states. So it doesn't matter if you're Nashville, Philly, or Cali. We take them, and we've been doing that so for about close to 9 years now. Okay, so from the very beginning, this law firm has handled all 50 states, and it's totally legal. And the reason I'll explain is because immigration law is federal law. So if I'm a lawyer here in Tennessee, in other words, as long as I'm legally licensed to practice in Tennessee, the law states, federal law states, that I'm able to practice now in all 50 states and territories, right, with my law license. Okay. So I figured this out before a lot of immigration lawyers did, right? I've been doing this, like I told you, almost 9 years. I've been taking clients all over all 50 states. So now these days, you see all these immigration lawyers saying we represent all 50 states, but really, I figured it out a long time ago, and I've been telling people all 50 states. Anyway, to answer your question, I can do all 50 states. All right. Let's see. You're from Korea. Good. Hello, how are you doing? You speak Korean. Well, it doesn't sound like you're Ramos. Are you really Korean? Okay, let me not judge. How are you doing? Hello. Let's see. Okay, let me take one or two more questions live, guys. Again, if you have a question, now it's time to come live. I'll be leaving here at 4 or 5. Now it's 3 minutes from now. I'm leaving here exactly 3 minutes from now. Okay. And if you want to come live and ask me a question, you could jump on IG and come live. In the meantime, let me see. Can CBP take away the U.S. citizen kids? No. U.S. citizen kids are U.S. citizen kids. They can't be taken away from the country. Okay. All right. Let me take these questions live. Let me see what this person is. What if even if they request RFE, when do you start count from the 2 years approval of VAWA? Tamika Walker, if you want me to answer your question, come live. And secondly, but really to answer your question real quickly, I'll just generalize and say our fees can take 2 weeks to be responded to. They can take a year. I think I just posted about an RFE that we responded to last week that we won in 1 month. I mean, literally, we responded in September. It wasn't even a month actually, and by October they had responded and approved the I-360. So Tamika Walker, there's no time frame for an RFE. It's just really whenever they get to it. But I guess in my experience, if you did a great job or if it was well done, again, there's no formula for this. Then usually sometimes that could speed up your response on the RFE. That could, I use the word could, because there's some that we responded to, and I know we respond to all our RFEs properly and well, that we still haven't heard back from. So it's different each time. It's different each time. Okay, guys, one more minute. Who wants to come live and ask that question? I see all this question is written, but as a general rule, I prefer to answer them live. So I have 1 more minute to answer these questions. And while I wait, let me summarize. Remember, I told you that the whole topic of this whole topic was the number one question I get asked is, okay, my application, my last case was denied Wafula, and it was an adjustment of status case. Do I still qualify for VAWA? And I always say, provided you qualify for VAWA, absolutely, absolutely. And what does it take to qualify for VAWA? You need to be married to a U.S. citizen or green card holder, separated, divorced from one, or in some states, you don't even need to be married to one, states like Texas or Alabama or New Hampshire, all right? And then you need to have experienced toxic issues, problems in the marriage, things such as a spouse talking down to you, cursing you, and calling you names. Those are common problems. A spouse cheating on you, again, those are sadly common problems. A spouse putting you down emotionally or mentally, again, those are common problems. A spouse calling you things like dumb, again, common problems. All the way to more extreme things, like a spouse making fun of your sexual prowess, like if you're a man, making fun of, um, you know, things that will bring down your ego. Again, if you're a man, a spouse withholding sex from you, giving it to another, a spouse, uh, asking you for sex or money in exchange for filing for you, you finding out something big about your spouse that had you known about them, you'd have never married them. Things such as a spouse being a pedophile, spouse having an affinity towards little girls or little boys. Things such as you finding out a spouse raped or molest one of your kids, okay, or someone or a minor in your care. Things such as you finding out your spouse is a drug dealer or is into some sort of criminal activity, and on top of that, they want you to participate with them. Things such as a spouse making you do things that are illegal or things you're uncomfortable with sexually, like making you take heroin, coke, whatever, making you smoke weed. Maybe your spouse you know, made you try to sell drugs or something like that. Maybe your spouse made you do a threesome or something you're uncomfortable with sexually, okay, etc. All right. For women, it could be for sexual abuse. I'm talking about sexual abuses right now too. So let me tell you one example for women. For women, it could be as simple as your spouse losing affection for you to the point where sex is now painful. It's no longer pleasurable. It's now painful, and your spouse just does it for their own needs now. Then it's no longer something that's done to please both of you, right? And it's now very painful. Okay. So in other words, I don't want to say it on live. Okay. But you get the point. All right. And it could also be things like you finding out your spouse has a mental disorder. Again, that's not a problem, but those are things you want to know about ahead of time. It could be things like you finding out your spouse has a sexual orientation that kind of jeopardizes your relationship with each other. Like, so again, that's not a problem, but just things you the average person would want to know before marriage. All right. So it could be things like finding out that something big about your spouse that you didn't know, and had you known, you would have never married. It could be things like you just literally having been transformed completely through this marriage. Used to be a social bird, now you're antisocial. Used to be a social bird, now you're having to see a shrink. You're having to go to a therapist every week. Okay. Used to be a social bird, now you're on antidepressant meds. Okay. So whenever I see things like these, I'm thinking you qualify for vow, and I'm thinking even if you had a prior denial, we could still file for vow and probably still win. Okay. These are the last two questions I'm taking, and I'm gone. Last two questions I'm taking, and these are I'm taking them live. Hello, hello. Okay, maybe I lied because it looks like these two people, their videos are having problems bringing me in. Hello. I'm trying to speak to these people as they come in. It looks like it's not letting them. Okay, guys. So I've tried for whatever reason. Maybe we're having technical issues, but I'm not able to bring these last two people live to ask their questions. Okay. Um, I do want to answer this person. Youngest grandpa says that these people taking pictures for their ex partner's legal documents like naturalization certificate, U.S. passport, use that to file false cases because law allows you to file a case for anything. That's not true. That's not true. So when I'm talking about VAW, it makes it sound like any and everybody can file for VAW and win. That's not really true. There's still a skill behind it. Like, you still need a lawyer, and even then, it's not every case that I consult with that I take. So my answer to youngest grandpa is that's not true. It's not. It's easier said. It looks easier than what you think. Okay, there's a real skill to it. It takes work to win every case, including a violent case. It takes evidence to win cases, every case, including a violent case. All right. And then lastly, I'll say that I can only speak for myself. I'm a VAWA lawyer, so I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for other lawyers who do VAWA, but I know for me, I I I screen the heck out of my consultations. I really, really try to do a lot of screening before I take a case, right? I thoroughly drill everybody, uh, every client that we take. We screen them thoroughly before we take the case, before we take the VAWA case. So I do my best to ensure that I'm truly helping the ones who truly experience abuse. But of course, at the end of the day, I can't catch everybody. And so for the rest of those that I can catch, the small percentage of those that who may have lied to me about what happened and faked maybe even the evidence, well, I let the system catch those, or I let God catch them, right? Because I did my best. All right. So I just always want to answer that question because I know there's a lot of people who think like youngest grandpa that I'm just out here milking the system, taking every case, even those that don't qualify for VAWA. That's not true. And if you watch my live videos, you'll know that's not true. Okay. Hello.
Hello?
Hello. How are you doing?
Oh, hi. I'm sorry. I'm doing good. Thank you for picking up.
Not a problem.
Cleaning. Sorry.
No problem.
So, the question I have is my husband did his citizenship on Friday.
Okay.
He passed the civic, and
I can't hear you. What?
they gave him a paper about his IRS when, like, 2001. So consulate, I'm not sure if that's what you call it, give him the 5 dates of his arrest and say he should get the disposition letter from the courthouse and bring it back to him. So I haven't put in my adjustment or anything because he's a permanent resident and I had overstayed. The fact that they're unable to make a decision, is that a bad thing? There's because the arrest was 2001, 2003, 2005.
Well, there's many ways to answer that, but quickly, it depends. It depends on what the crimes were. Depends on how long it was. Depends on whether some of them may depend on whether he was actually charged or were they fully dismissed. It will depend. But to answer your question, if he gives them the information that they need and there's nothing that they can hold against him, that could be held against his good moral character, then it's not an issue at all.
Oh, because he was thinking that they normally just go back 5 years. We're talking about 21 years ago.
Yeah, criminal charges are the exception. Any fraud, criminal issues, they go beyond 5 years.
No, it's ticket and
I know, but
he's never been to prison or anything.
In other words, anything that could affect your good moral character, usually they used to just go 5 years, but in reality, they can go beyond 5 years. If it's something that could affect his good moral character, that's the standard for citizenship.
One last question. Okay, the fact that they gave him the dates of his arrest and where he was arrested, do you think if they were going to deny it, don't you think they would just do it then? Because obviously they know what the charges were. They're telling you where you were arrested and the dates. Do you think they wouldn't just deny it right then and there, or they would still ask for RFE? Because I'm nervous. Okay. I'm really,
Madam, I gotta tell you have a very pleasant face and pleasant demeanor, and so it almost makes me want to answer all 10 of your questions. But really, you should just
I normally text in your comments and get a response. I really wasn't expecting, so I'm just spilling it all out there to kind of get some.
I know, but so I would love to help you honestly, and I think just schedule a consultation because I think what the questions you're having. I think you'll have much more. Even after I answer this one, you're going to have another one. So just schedule a consultation and I'll take care of it. Okay?
All right.
Thank you,
That's fair. Thank you.
But one thing I do want to tell you, just know your spouse can file for you even as a green card holder. I don't know if you know that. I'll post up one of my short vids that explains what I mean on my story.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
All right.
Mm-hmm. What if my husband left home and returns home? Can I file? So yes, VAWA is based on problems that happened in the past that are presently happening. Okay, it doesn't matter, right? As long as they actually happen. So your problems, in other words, VAWA applies to all types of abuse. And it applies to abuse that happened during the marriage and even also abuse that happened before the marriage. So, you guys are not strangers to the world. You know how it works. So, for instance, some people were in a bad relationship with their spouse even before they got married. Some people were in an abusive relationship with their spouse even before they got married. Then they got married and their spouse may be changed. Or maybe they got married and their spouse continued to abuse them. It doesn't matter. As long as in any time during their relationship, whether they were married, even before their marriage or after the marriage, there was abuse and there was some toxic elements of the relationship. That would make a good basis for a VAWA case. Of course, whether I take the case is always a different matter. That's why we have a consultation, okay? All right. So that's the answer to Facebook user. Do I work outside the US? Yes, we have some clients outside the US. Okay. Not always, but yes. Last question, guys. No, I think I'll leave it be. I need to get going, guys. Okay, so guys, that's it for today. I've been here. That's about 30 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes. So if you have any additional questions, it's okay. All you need to do is either catch my next live or schedule a consultation. So my information is at the bottom. You can go to afulalaw.com and schedule a consultation there. We'll go from there. Or you can call us, schedule a consultation. We'll go from there. Guys, it's been a real pleasure. Bye bye. Share this with anyone that you think this may help. I'll see you next time. Bye. Remember, if you have a prior denial case, right, it doesn't disqualify for VAWA automatically, okay? Just remember that, in other words, all right? And just remember, that's what a VAWA lawyer is for. Okay, take care. Bye, guys.